Welcome into the weekend update edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, along with Wade Neely. We are coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes. We will be with you here for the next couple of hours, talking local, regional, and national sports topics, and excited to do so. So thanks for checking in on us, and hope to have you around for a while. Wade, how's your Friday?
Friday is good, man. It is good to be with you. It's good to be with our viewers. And I'm excited not only about today's show, I'm excited about high school football, what teams are actually playing tonight. I know a lot of folks are off this week, but what teams that are playing. And then that carries us right into what is going to be a pretty epic weekend, I think. So looking forward to a good show, and then looking forward to what's still to come.
Yeah, it's going to be a good weekend. Kind of got off to, depending on where your allegiances are, maybe a little bit of a bumpy start with some action from last night across the sports landscape locally. We'll be getting into that in just a second. But in the second hour of the show, we will visit with Ben McKee of Go Vols 24/7 as we consider the University of Tennessee Volunteers coming off of that tough loss over at Arkansas this past weekend, coming home to take on Florida tomorrow night. Always an interesting matchup when Tennessee and Florida meet. So you will get some insight from Ben McKee on that. In the next segment, we will visit with TERESA Walker, the queen of Tennessee sports media. She will be at Nissan Stadium on Sunday as the Titans take on the visiting Indianapolis Colts in a big AFC South matchup. And, a lot to consider with the Titans as they are coming off of their bye week and on a one-game win streak, having won down at Miami prior to the bye week. So they've had a couple of weeks to enjoy that, as well as their 1-3 record. So we will talk with TERESA in the next segment about that. And we'll probably talk a little bit with TERESA as well about the goings on at Bridgestone Arena last night, which weren't great for the home team. We'll get to that more here in a second. Major League Baseball playoffs continue. Another team eliminated last night, unfortunately for Heather Williams, our NASCAR analyst. And someone else will get eliminated tonight out on the West Coast. We'll talk more about that and some interesting little tidbits coming from Major League Baseball. Thursday night football last night, big NFC West matchup. We will touch on that a little bit. MTSU went on the road in Conference USA action. We'll touch on that a little bit. WNBA championship finals started up last night. And in our final segment, Wade and I will resume trying to pick 10 college football games from the weekend against the spread, picking winners there. So stick around for that and, take it with a grain of salt for entertainment purposes only. If you're getting anything out of it, then you might just want to take our picks and go the other way, but we'll see how that goes. So that's what we're looking like here over the next couple of hours. And even though it is fall break for high school football programs across the area, we've still got a pretty good bunch of games, I'm sure. So let's go ahead and get into yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Hey, folks, the Friday Rundown is brought to you by Chip Walters of Exit Realty, Bob Lamb and Associates. The Blue Raider Voice also wants to be your trusted advisor in real estate. So contact Chip at 615-542-1915 or visit his website at choosechip.net. That's Chip Walters, proud to support youth sports across Middle Tennessee.
High school football action from Thursday night. Christ Presbyterian with a 34-6 win over Antioch in a high-powered matchup up in Region 7 6A. Clarksville takes care of business in a big way, 46-6 over Kirkwood. It was Kenwood 27, Clarksville Northwest 19. Brentwood Academy goes east and has a happy bus ride back across I-40 after downing Knoxville Catholic 63-26. Rossview with a 17-12 win over McGavock. It was Providence Christian 43, Ezel Harding nothing. Volleyball action from Thursday. Middle Tennessee Christian with a 3-0 victory over Battleground Academy in the District 9 AAA semifinals. Lincoln County defeated Spring Hill 3-1. Lawrence County in 5 sets defeated Columbia Central 3-2. And then in the championship match, it was Lawrence County, the host, second seed, Lawrence County 3, Lincoln County nothing.
Heard that was a good one, and especially the match versus Columbia as 2-0 Lawrence County, then 2-2, and then LCHS gets the win in 5 sets. Heard it was a real barn burner there, so props to Lawrence County on getting it done.
18-16 in that 5th set, Lawrence County. Yeah.
That was a squeaker there between two rivals. Let me tell you about girls soccer scores from last night. There were some good ones, a lot of close games, including Sycamore, who was a 2-1 winner over Fairview. Lincoln County was 3-1 to the good over Columbia last night. Franklin Road Academy blanks Providence Christian 5-0 your score there. Stewart's Creek 7, Lebanon 1. It was BGA, a 2-0 win over University School of Nashville. Station Camp was a 6-0 winner versus White House. We mentioned WNBA, wild game, wild finish last night, but the Lynx survive and take game 1, 95-93 in overtime versus the Liberty. More on that to come throughout the course of this show. NBA preseason action last night. It was the Hornets defeating the Grizzlies 119-94. We also talked about the 49ers and the Seahawks. The 49ers do get the win 36-24 between those two NFC West rivals. And it was the Stars coming into Bridgestone Arena and knocking off the Preds. It was 4-2. Preds get a late goal. 4-3 was your final there. College football action from last night. MTSU led this game once upon a time. Seems like a long time ago, but because they end up falling 48-21 to Louisiana Tech down in Ruston. Major League Baseball action. The Guardians stave off elimination with a 5-4 win versus the Tigers. And the Yankees, as we mentioned a moment ago, do take care of the Royals 3-1. They await the winner of Cleveland and Detroit. We'll tell you about that later.
High school football tonight, big Division II AA Middle Region matchup as Franklin Road Academy travels to Battleground Academy. That's a 7 o'clock kickoff, as are all of these matchups. Centennial is at Brentwood. Sycamore goes to Cheatham County. Nashville Christian comes to Columbia Academy. We will have coverage of that one at mainstreetmurray.com. You can also see it on WUXP as part of the My TV 30 Friday Night Rivals series. 7 o'clock kick for Clarksville Academy at Donaldson Christian. East Nashville hosting Cane Ridge. Father Ryan goes to Ensworth. Giles County hosting Grundy County at the Brickyard in a big Region 4-3A matchup. And Wade, tell them where they can hear this.
Yep, we'll be broadcasting that one tonight. Yours truly and Chris Bledsoe on Pulaski Citizen Live. If you got the Mixler app, you can search PCL GCHS, or you can just go to PulaskiCitizen.com, click on that big old button that says Pulaski Citizen Live. Should be a good one in region action tonight.
Joe Burns travels to Harpeth at 7 o'clock. Beach travels to Henry County. McKenzie is at Houston County. Lipscomb Academy hosting Montgomery Bell Academy. Marshall County travels to Montgomery Central. Shelbyville plays Spring Hill at Battle Creek at 7 tonight. East Robertson goes to Trousdale County. The Indians coming off that loss last week to Westmoreland and looking to get back in the left-hand column tonight. Davidson Academy goes to Bell Buckle, taking on the feet of Webb School. That's a 7 o'clock kick. Clarksville Northeast is at West Creek. Innovation Academy goes south to Westbrook Christian of Alabama. And Whites Creek is hosting Grace Christian of Franklin. In girls soccer action tomorrow, University School of Nashville takes on Providence Christian.
Rolling into college football on Saturday. A lot of big games, but here are some local ones that you might not know about. Bethel is at Cumberland tomorrow. Game begins at 1:30 p.m. You can hear it on WANT. That's FM 98.9. Eastern Illinois will visit Tennessee State. Game will be played at 5 p.m. and will be seen on ESPN+. Florida and Tennessee, they'll get it on tomorrow at 6 p.m. Game can be seen on ESPN. And Vanderbilt, yes, the Vanderbilt Commodores, fresh off their big win, will head to Kentucky at 6:45 to take on the Wildcats. Game will be shown on SEC Network. On Saturday, the Grizzlies will play the Bulls as preseason action continues. Game will begin at 7 p.m. No television listing. Maybe check your local listings there. NHL action, the Preds, one game at home. Now they go right on the road. Got to take on a really tough Red Wings team tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Game can be seen on Bally Sports South. Major League Baseball, one game today, one game tomorrow. Tonight, it'll be the Dodgers hosting the Padres in a winner-take-all matchup. Game will be seen at 7:05 on Fox. Again, Game 5 of the NL Division Series there. Saturday, it'll be Screwball and the Tigers traveling to the Guardians. It's an afternoon pitch, first pitch rather, at 12:08 p.m. Game can be seen on HBO Max. And that is, again, a winner-take-all series deciding game between those two teams. WNBA action, the Lynx and Liberty resume. That game will be played at 2 o'clock on Sunday, and you can see it on ABC. Also on Sunday, it'll be the Colts traveling to Nissan Stadium to take on the Tennessee Titans. Game gets underway at noon. CBS is your television destination between the Colts and the Titans. That brings us to the end of the weekend schedule, and that concludes our Friday rundown.
Your top story brought to you as always by the fine folks at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. We spoke with Ann Kimmel of Penalty Box Radio on Wednesday ahead of the Nashville Predators season opener last night against the visiting Dallas Stars. We got word, I guess, midday yesterday that UC Soros wasn't going to be able to go in between the pipes last night, which set up the storyline of Scott Wedgwood free agent signing over the offseason going against his former team, the Dallas Stars. And I don't know if he owed those guys some money or something or what, but the Stars scored 4 goals all in the second period, and they were enough as Dallas comes in and gets out with a 4-3 victory, as we mentioned in the rundown a little bit ago. Yeah, I didn't get to see it, but it sounds like it was not a great performance by Mr. Wedgwood.
No, and that's kind of the big takeaway, I think, coming out of the game. And, you know, it is one game, so let's not read maybe too much into it. But if you are looking for a takeaway, man, you kind of really are wondering, do the Preds have a big backup goalie situation? Because Wedgwood, as you said, was not at his best by any means. And there were some slight concerns about the backup situation heading into, and I mean, that kind of bore itself out in real time last night in the season opener, giving up not 1, not 2, not even 3, but 4 goals, 3 of them coming in the first 8 minutes in the second period. And Nashville was really kind of out of it, trailing 4-1 at that point, heading into the third. They do get 2 late, including one very late to make the score a little more respectable. But that's kind of got to be the big takeaway for me, Mo, is the backup goalie situation. Soros, you know, if something were to happen for any extended period of time, it does not look good for the Preds. And even on spot nights, if that's the Wedgwood you're going to get, that does not look very promising for Nashville at the moment.
Yeah, that's got to be the concern, you know, because, I mean, Soros can't go all 82 or at this point all 81. And, you know, he's going to have to step out of the net from time to time. And if this is your primary option when that occurs, again, judging by last night, and to your point, again, it's one game, but it's the first game. And I think it tends to kind of leave a little bit of a mark under those conditions. So definitely some questions there. Forsberg with a goal. Tommy Novak and Ryan O'Reilly each with a goal. Marchessault with a couple of assists. So you got some pretty good things offensively, but you were kind of playing from behind the 8 ball most of the night there. So tough start for the Preds. I mean, I don't know. Is 3 goals enough to think that you should be able to win under reasonable, normal circumstances?
You might think so, but this game kind of almost, for, as you know, obviously low scoring with no goals in the first period. It kind of turned into, it wasn't even really a game, and we do got to give Wedgwood a little props. He did stop all 9 shots he faced in the third period, but the damage had kind of been done. So this game in many respects is almost kind of like just burn the tape and move on. You really kind of can't get a true summation of really kind of how it played out. The offense, for all of the hype and the accolades, it does feel like this is going to take a little time to kind of find their footing. But yeah, to your original question, 3 goals, you're thinking, okay, especially with Saros in net, you're thinking, okay, that should be enough to win. So Nashville will find their footing. They did. The cool thing is they made a lot of wholesale changes. As a result, there are now some expectations. The other thing is they made a lot of wholesale changes. So now that may take a little time to smooth some of that out.
Yeah. Wedgwood with 16 saves. So it's not like Dallas got off a whole lot of shots in the grand scheme of things, but 80% save percentage for Wedgwood in a tough loss to open the season. 4-3 Dallas over Nashville at Bridgestone last night. And as we mentioned in the rundown, they head on the road. They go to Detroit tomorrow night. So if you got to get
Wedgwood's perhaps going to start that game too. There's kind of some concerns about Saros and if he'll go tomorrow.
Yeah, that's encouraging. But if there's a team that you want to get even against, the Red Wings would fit into that category. So it'd be nice to go up there and get one to get to 1-1 on the season. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll see how that goalie situation develops, whether Saros is good to go or whether it is Wedgwood again in the road opener for the Predators. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return to the Lee Company studios, we should be joined by TERESA Walker of the Associated Press, talking a little Titans football. Stay tuned after this. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Step into the Lionel retail store at Opry Mills, Nashville, and you'll be captivated by all the magic of the 123-year history of Lionel trains. Whether you're already a train enthusiast or just getting started, Lionel will energize your love for trains. NASCAR fan? Come check out your local Lionel station to learn all there is to know about model trains and die-cast NASCAR collectibles. Visit nashville.lionel.com or call 615-455-9399.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
He shoots, and he scores!
Welcome back to the Weekend Update here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. We're coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes, and we are pleased to be joined now by the weary queen of Tennessee sports media, TERESA Walker of the Associated Press, as we talk a little Tennessee Titans. She stepped out.
I guess she's coming back in a minute.
She's had enough.
We didn't even get on good, and she's stepping out. What's up with that? I saw her, and so I thought we were good. Wow. An introduction wasted. TERESA Walker will be joining us momentarily to talk a little Titans as they get ready for their AFC South opener at Nissan Stadium Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts. TERESA, you here now? You good?
I am, but if you have a cat and you're working from home, guess what? Roscoe is supposed to be fed in about an hour, and cats, they should be fed at any moment that you're near their food bowl. So he jumped up, and I was trying to skirt him away and accidentally hit the wrong button, and so yeah, I'm blaming the cat. Yes, I am. We've all been there. If you've got a cat or a dog, you know it. You've been there.
Well, I don't know if Mark has a cat, but I do know Wade has cats. I have cats, and so we get it. We understand. It just kind of comes with the territory. Fortunately, we also have doors, and so
that's the problem. I took over my dining room and turned it into my home office, and I've got a swinging door on one side, and I haven't figured out how to close off that other door because this was supposed to be a dining room. So, back in the 90s when we built this house, people did things differently. And if I could figure out how to put a sliding door in there, I'd be doing it in a heartbeat. So
yeah, the concept of cats and Zoom was not really in our lexicon back in the 90s.
WFH was not a thing back then, that's for sure. So yeah,
heck, the internet. I was warned: pre-wire your house when you're building it. All sorts of stuff's coming. And in 96, 95, 96, it's like, what? Internet.
Well,
I know, kids. Look it up.
I'll say this: even if you had pre-wired it, you still wouldn't have been ready for where we've gotten to at this point, most likely. But at any rate, did you feed Roscoe while you were off?
Well, I gave him some catnip before joining you guys, trying to calm him down. It didn't work because I'm too close to the food bowl. His food bowl is in my office. So, there's you know how it is. It's dangerous.
That's bad planning on your part.
Oh, well, yeah. I don't make many mistakes, but that might be one of them. But,
Well, let's hope that the Tennessee Titans are a little bit better managed this weekend than Roscoe has been managed by TERESA to this point. As I go into this ball game, what is your biggest concern in terms of the Titans getting to 2-3?
Well, I'm curious to see who they start at right tackle because, I was not there yesterday because I was at the Big Ten SEC talking festival yesterday where they didn't really do anything except say we're going to wait and see how this first year goes with this 12-team playoff, and they don't have to say they're the two big dogs in the room, but right tackle, they have started the same combination for the first 4 games. And the last home game, Will Levis was sacked 8 times. Now they managed to, Will Levis got knocked out of the game, stretching the ball out. And he did say Wednesday he thought he got the first down. I thought he got the first down. I mean, excuse me, but if the goal line extends out on a plane, then the first down marker does. He struck the ball out. It should have been a first down, but he came to the sideline and the adrenaline was starting to wear off. And then, that whole challenge it, I got it. Wait a minute, my shoulder. So they've got to protect him better. And Bill Callahan said yesterday, they brought up Leroy Watson and, Nicholas Petit-Frere. Don't get comfortable. It's tough to tell. Are they trying to push and make sure Nicholas Petit-Frere knows he's got to keep working harder? Or is this a true competition? I don't think that has been truly they're not going to tell us exactly that. They're just saying that it's kind of a week-to-week situation and, carrot stick situation, but they've got to protect better. Brian Callahan, the boss, the play caller, has got to do a better job as well. Gentry Estes, I think, did a nice column calling out Brian. I mean, everyone's looking for places to lay blame. And, and Brian Callahan keeps saying after each game, I've got to get the ball to this guy more, or that guy more. And it's been Tyjae Spears, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, so, and that's part of this whole process is that he's the play caller. And this is the first time he's been the play caller. It's one thing to be the offensive coordinator setting up the game plan during the week. It's a completely different thing to be calling the plays in the heat of the moment from the sideline as head coach. It's why we've seen so many coaches, who tends to have more success immediately in the NFL. It's guys who aren't maybe calling the plays, or they're defensive coaches who have, offensive coordinators doing that for them. And I mean, Mike Mularkey, he wasn't calling plays. The last guy that called plays for this franchise and was the head coach, Ken Wisenhunt. So sorry, I know suddenly people just suddenly had a shudder go down their spine and they don't know why. But
they know
they know why. But the situation is different because this is a team that, at that point they were climbing out of some mess, didn't have a lot of room to do stuff. This is a team that spent a ton of money this offseason, similar to the Predators, spent a ton of money to surround Will Levis, give this first-time offensive play calling coach, stuff to work with, that Calvin Ridley, Tony Pollard, J.C. Latham was a draft, Lloyd Cushenberry was a free agent signing. So at a certain point, and Brian Callahan had said a month-ish to pull this stuff together. Well, guess what? They've had a month. Their fourth game, they scored 30 points. Now, Nick Folk got most of those points with his foot and was the AFC Special Teams Player of the Week. But at a certain point, Brian Callahan is going to start settling into a rhythm. And this might be the defense to do it against because they are, they've got a banged up IR roster right now, 9 guys on IR, 3 defensive linemen. Juju Smith, a cornerback, is on IR. I mean, and they've not been good on defense. So this is a chance for the offense to build some momentum, get right, and maybe help Will Levis and Brian Callahan and this whole offensive unit settle into a bit of comfort level, dare I say, and maybe get an AFC South win in their divisional debut. And, get Brian Callahan his first home win. We'll see.
Yeah. Couple of things came out of what you just mentioned there. One, where does Jalen Duncan fit into the right tackle equation? And 2, you mentioned Ken Wisenhunt. That's new Memphis Showboats coach Ken Wisenhunt, by the way. I don't know which of those, if any, you want to address, but yeah.
I think we
Teresa?
froze her.
She is. Yeah, I
That
guess
was so shocking of a news announcement there.
that she just froze. Yeah. Yeah. Ken Wisenhunt has been named coach of the Memphis Showboats. I saw that here not too long ago and meant to mention it on here and neglected to do so. And then when she mentioned him just now, it reminded me. Teresa, are you back?
I hope so. I don't know what happened there. I mean, I've got the Google Fiber stuff. I mean, come on now. I'm supposed, and no one else is home, so I should have perfectly good Wi-Fi. It's like, come on, baby. It's 2024. When are we going to get this stuff right? But, sorry, Ken Wisenhunt, God bless him. Showboats. There's a Showboats jersey from when Reggie White was playing there that's hanging in my husband's side of the closet. But Jalen Duncan seems to be MIA. John Njukwu was, cut, then re-signed to the practice squad. And that was a move that was such that before they even made the move, he never went anywhere. And they, Leroy Watson is now the guy that's on the roster. So he seems to be the guy getting a chance to push Nicholas Petit-Frere. I'll be seeing on Sunday. They've started the same combination for the first 4 games, matches all of what the combination. They did 11 different combinations last year, and 4 was the max that any group started together. So if Petit-Frere is out there on Sunday, that will top what they did last year. So maybe that helps them build some continuity on the offensive line. But, part of it is Brian Callahan, Will Levis has got to, execute better, no doubt. I mean, here's the one good thing. He and Anthony Richardson might actually face off against each other on Sunday for the first time in their careers. Will Levis will start. Anthony Richardson seems to be a go, but you can never take that with a grain of salt. I mean, shoot, Michael Pittman seemed to be going on IR, and he allegedly practiced today up in Indianapolis. So,
wow.
I know, so trust me, maybe it's gamesmanship. That's a word that we haven't used a lot with the NFL lately, but they do that. So what matters is the lineup card and the inactives that come in 90 minutes before Sunday. But we might actually see Anthony Richardson, who, his season last year as a rookie, 4th pick overall out of Florida, was against the Titans, and he got knocked out of the season there. So didn't play against Jacksonville last week. He's dangerous with his legs. He's got a hip injury. Do you bring him back against this team? They're 0-2 in the division. They kind of need this game almost worse than the Titans, which is a little scary to think of. But, right tackle, stay tuned. But Brian Callahan has got to call things better. He's got to distribute the ball better. Will Levis has got to make better decisions. The line's got to protect him better. One thing to watch, my fantasy tip in my capsule this week was Tony Pollard. Why? He's leading the NFL in that so-called category of yards after contact. The Colts defense ain't very good. So this might be a situation where, again, this is a chance for the Titans offense to get right. And what the Titans do well, they defend the pass well. They're the best in the NFL through 4 weeks in total yards allowed and total yards through the air, 124. Now, granted, Malik Willis, who was it that they played in Miami? Skylar Thompson. I'm having trouble keeping track of all the backup quarterbacks.
Yeah,
exactly.
No, it was Huntley, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There you go. Snoop. So, the one big name quarterback that they've played, Aaron Rodgers, but they have not allowed a 300-yard passer this season. So, they've been getting after the quarterback. The Colts are really good in explosive passing plays, and it's been because of Anthony Richardson. And if he's back on the field, then that defense will get tested. But guess what? That's a line. Ryan Kelly's been on the injury report with a neck. He's been practicing. So, if he's not available, we know that they're missing a right guard. He broke his leg against the Jaguars. So they're going to be starting a rookie at right guard, I think it is. So this is a chance. Jeffrey Simmons is definitely playing. Devondre Sweat, we saw him show out on Monday Night Football. I want to see that defense, those two guys, and Harold Landry get after whoever is at quarterback for the Colts.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Teresa, it feels like there's more to this with Richardson this week than we saw with Love and Willis a couple of weeks ago, where it seemed like they were kind of dangling Jordan Love out there, like he might play. It certainly feels like Richardson is more likely to play. But I wanted to ask you, Devontae Sweat, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. He grades out as the top interior lineman on Pro Football Focus that week. Are we potentially talking about, a defensive rookie of the year type season? Because he seems like he's growing by leaps and bounds every week. And that was a performance where, as you just mentioned, we did not see Big Jeff in the lineup.
Well, it's tough to do that when you're an interior lineman on defense. You need some of those splashy plays. So now if he gets some of those, and I'm going to, do a throwback, how did Jadeveon Clowney make his rep in college? Mowing over some guy named Taylor Lewan in a bowl game, a play that got replayed over and over. How did Charles Woodson win a
Still
Heisman
getting replayed?
Yeah. That a couple of interceptions, and that seemed to help him get that Heisman that year in 97, excuse me. So he needs to have one or two of those. But isn't it almost funny to think back in June, July, May, even people were like, oh, is he going to be able to play? He's too big. He's out of shape. I've got questions about him. And it's like, a man that big should not move that fast. He's lethal. And he's a guy that when you put him next to Jeff Simmons, and Jeffrey Simmons is not a small man, but Devontae Sweat almost makes Simmons look like a little brother at times when you got them right beside each other. So with the two of them together, I'm really curious to see, because yes, you're right. Sweat, like J.C. Latham at left tackle, these are two rookies, the first and second picks of this draft for Rand Carthon, that are just taking and making leaps and bounds. And let's not forget Jarvis Brownlee, out of Louisville, he stepped right in for Chido Awuzie, and he has done, he did remarkably well in his first start in Miami. So this draft class is showing some really good signs of coming through for the Titans this year. And this is a team, again, that spent an awful lot of money to bring some veterans in here. And, I think five, six starters new to this team on offense, 7 on defense on any given week. And yet, so that's part of that growing thing that we were talking about earlier. So, the defense is clicking. Bernard Wilson has got them cooking with gas. Now, Cedric Gray is back practicing with the team. They're going to take the next 2 weeks, it looks like, to truly gauge, is he healthy enough to come off of IR? But that's a guy that could end up coming back and giving them yet another rookie that, remember back when he was drafted, is like, is he going to be wearing the green dot? So that's somebody that could come back and help this defense, which is doing really good as we speak.
Yeah, and Teresa, that it's while we're in the time portal there. When we hire Callahan and when all the pieces get put together, it seemed like there were so many questions about the defense, or everybody was so curious about what the defense might look like. And here we sit, early October, and the defense is playing great. It's the questions that are on the offensive side of the ball at this moment.
I know. And with the guy Brian Callahan, who was, hired as an offensive-minded coach to boost this offense. And it's like, I've got to learn to quit saying it can't get worse than it was last year, because, it seems like we keep finding new ways. The Titans are tied for the, worst turnover margin in the NFL. And by the way, the Colts, as bad as that defense has been, they have done an incredible job at getting their hands on turnovers and takeaways. So, one good thing, they allegedly come in bunches. The Titans got one in Miami, Arden Key getting that lateral, which it's like, why did they even review it? It's like, did you not see the ball traveling backwards? It's like sometimes these officials are taking, it's like, come on, you saw what you saw, trust it. But hey, a turnover, you want to be careful. But if they're coming in bunches, and I asked Amani Hooker that on Wednesday, it's like, is this maybe the start of something? Because they've got 2 takeaways. Well, unfortunately, one of them came on special teams. So the defense technically still is looking for its first pick after having only 6 interceptions all last season. fewest in the fewest in the NFL. Sorry, I spent most of the day yesterday at a hotel with the SEC talking about the SEC and Big Ten. So after a long day, and I was at the Preds opener last night. So the older we get, you need a little bit of WD-40.
Yeah,
Switch gears.
Absolutely. TERESA Walker of the Associated Press joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. TERESA, you mentioned the addition of veterans over the offseason. That trend has not stopped. What should we take from the addition of Trevor Siemian to the practice squad?
Well, as Brian Callahan told us on Wednesday, it was a situation where, let's face it, Will Levis hurt his shoulder. And it's like you look around the roster and it's like, wait a minute, we've got Mason Rudolph. But, he said this is not a situation where we wanted to bring in a quarterback to develop. We needed somebody in here that could play if needed. And that's the thing about the NFL. I mean, before you know it, you could be looking at, hey, where's Rusty? Rusty, remember that moment? Yeah, a long time ago. Going back in the Wayback Machine.
Excuse me, guys. We've had all the throwbacks today. Rusty Smith reference there.
Yep. TERESA,
sorry, allergies are killing me right now.
No, that's it. It happens to the best of us. Do you expect Siemian to be up Sunday as a precaution, or is Levis 100% good to go?
Callahan said today that Levis is going to start. So at this point, I think that they're not going to activate him, because now this is a move that they could make tomorrow to have him around for Sunday, because guess what? Stuff happens. Will Levis could wake up tomorrow and his shoulder's hurting worse than it was today. So stay tuned. I don't think so.
Real quick, TERESA, you mentioned that you were at Bridgestone last night. What are the reviews on Scott Wedgwood right now?
Why did you not sign Kevin Lankinen? That was a conversation had in the press box. Yaroslav Oskarov is probably on a bus somewhere saying, see, you should have had me up there. So it was not great. But Andrew Burnett said, let's face it, they could have played better in front of him. And this is a situation where, the NFL preseason and training camp is a lot longer than the NHL preseason and training camp. And while these guys were playing together, they opened against the Dallas Stars, who won the Western Conference last year in the regular season, 113 points, won the Central Division, lost to Edmonton in the Western Finals. So they were opened against one of, literally the best team in the West, and a team that is ahead of them in the Stanley Cup odds to, be lifting the cup at the end of the year. So kind of tough for Scott Wedgwood to get tossed in there. And what really hurts, we saw in that final minute why Barry Trotz spent a whole bunch of money. They hit 2 posts in the final 49 seconds, and Steven Stamkos was one of those guys. Jonathan Marchessault, 2 assists. Philip Forsberg, coming off a career year, 3 points in his debut last night. So UC Saros looks like he'll be in net tomorrow night against Detroit. Lower body injury that he had, it looks like he should be good to go. And he is the guy that got that 8-year contract. And, 5th in the Vezina Trophy voting this year, 4th last year. Just get him back in net and play better the next time you have to turn to Scott Wedgwood, because, it kind of felt like he was thrown to the wolves. I mean, literally, they scored goals on the 7th, 8th, and 9th shots of the game, and then the 11th shot, I think it was, of the game, because they took away, 4 goals in the span of 5 shots. It was almost ridiculous.
TERESA Walker of the Associated Press joining us here on Main Street Sports Today. TERESA, as always, we appreciate it. Hope you can get a little rest. Hey, at least you don't have to go to Knoxville tomorrow, right?
That's true. In fact, I am going to be having a massage and going to the Isbell concert tonight. So, yes, I'm not going to Knoxville. I'll be watching that one and flipping back and forth between that and Vandy, because, guys, if Vandy goes up to Kentucky and wins, they're receiving votes in the AP poll. They could easily be ranked on Sunday if they come out of Lexington with the win. So, and they host Ball State next week. And then in 2 weeks, Texas is coming to Nashville. So, which, if Texas thought coming, somebody needs to show them that Saban quote and show them, remind the Longhorns, coming to Nashville apparently ain't that easy anymore.
Yeah. It's really unfortunate. We had Kevin Ingram on earlier in the week. It's unfortunate that they didn't get that Georgia State game in particular, and lesser so maybe that Missouri game. I mean, Vanderbilt
Seven.
be sitting here.
7 points from being undefeated.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll definitely be keeping an eye on the goings on at Kroger Field in Lexington tomorrow night, as well as at Neyland Stadium. But Teresa, we appreciate it, and we look forward to catching up with you again here in the, I'm sure, near future.
Sounds good, and thanks, guys. And I one of these days I'm going to get all my technical issues worked out. I keep trying, and your former intern is an IT guy, and he still can't help me. So there you go. Thank you, guys.
There you go. Hey, we'll talk to you when we continue here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. We will talk a little Major League Baseball, so stay tuned when we come back to the Lee Company studios after this.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yeah, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. October 11th, 1992. After starting at cornerback, returning a pair of kicks and a punt, and catching a 9-yard pass in the Falcons' 21-17 loss at Miami, Deion Sanders jetted to Pittsburgh for Game 5 of the NLCS between the Pirates and Braves, hoping to become the first professional athlete to play in 2 games in 2 different sports in the same day. Bobby Cox wasn't impressed, and Deion didn't get on the field for the Braves' 7-1 loss. Sanders did go 0 for 2 off the bench in the 13-4 Game 6 loss and struck out in his only at-bat in the Game 7 3-2 victory when Sid slid. That was this day in Braves history. We talked about 30 for 30s earlier this week. That was our top 5 with Blaine sitting in for Wade, and one that didn't make it was Deion's double play that centered on this day. And if you've not seen it, you might want to check it out. Speaking of playoff action, again, the Yankees closed out their 3-1 ALDS over Kansas City at Kansas City last night with a 3-1 victory, while Cleveland staved off elimination with a 5-4 victory over Detroit. They're taking it back home to Progressive Field for an afternoon contest tomorrow. And again, presumptive AL Cy Young Award winner Tarek Skubal awaits the Guardians in that one. So might be tough sledding for the Guardians tomorrow, but the winner of that one will get the Yankees. And either way, that promises to be a pretty good series.
Yeah, it should be a fun series, regardless of who gets in. But yeah, tomorrow's matchup, I mean, it kind of feels like a throwback, right? And Skubal, this is kind of what you live for. He is a hoss, and it would have been sweet, obviously, if they had taken care of business and had him maybe resting for Game 1, of course. But the fact that he's going, I mean, if you end up not winning this game before the Tigers tomorrow, your Cinderella run does come to an end, but at least you are set up in great position going into this game. This should be fun. Smack dab in the middle of a slobber knocker of a college football slate will be an epic game that will be played tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, there's some pretty good ones tomorrow, but this kind of matches up with them. Garrett Cole, 7 innings, 1 run in that win for the Yankees over Kansas City, and apparently the Yankees bullpen has been exceptional and then some. 15 2/3 straight scoreless innings for the Yankee relievers. That'll do a lot of damage this time of year.
Yeah, and you know, we are set up. Obviously, a Subway Series is still in play. Yankees Dodgers is still in play. I mean, this could be a Titanic situation. On the other hand, you could end up with Detroit or Cleveland versus the Padres, which will not really get the network execs salivating by any stretch. But I think all the teams that are remaining, the Tigers are absolutely just on this magical Cinderella run. The Mets are kind of on their weird magical Cinderella run, fueled by Grimace of all things. And this postseason, it just feels like, man, the buzz just quite hasn't been there. At least with me, it hasn't clicked, unfortunately, this year. But I'm kind of going to be strapped in going forward because I think we're in store for a good game tonight and tomorrow. And then those respective championship series should be fantastic. And the Yankees, in a weird way, it almost feels like the Yankees have flown under the radar somehow. It feels like there's been less talk about this Yankees team, to me at least, than there has been about any teams in a long time coming out of that franchise.
You know, I watched a little bit of that Yankees-Royals game on Wednesday night, I guess it was. And just the number of names that I did not know, man, it's pretty amazing. And I mean, I will say that I'm not as much of a baseball fan as I used to be. I'm a Braves fan. I'm not necessarily a baseball fan at this point. But I mean, besides Judge and Stanton and Jazz Chisholm, I didn't recognize a lot of those guys. It's like, who is this Osvaldo? What's his face that was playing first base for the Yankees? And maybe I'm exposing myself a little bit, but I mean, to not be any more familiar than I was with that many New York Yankees was a little odd, I think. And again, maybe it was me. I don't know. You talked about potential World Series matchups that are in play, and Detroit San Diego would be a redo of the 1984 series 40 years ago. So that's one to kind of keep an eye on too, I think. So that'd be interesting. Again, it was 84, it was 40 years ago on the button. So that there are some historians that would maybe enjoy that a little bit. That division series, again, game 5 is at 7:08 tonight as the Padres try to oust the NL West champion Los Angeles Dodgers. And they've got Yu Darvish going, which makes it, they've got a puncher's chance anyway. And I'm not sure what Freddie Freeman's situation is with that ankle either.
Yeah, Darvish, man, he has been feast or famine in big moments in the postseason, and unfortunately, it's been a lot of famine. So it'll be fascinating to watch him tonight. Him and Yamamoto could put on a clinic, or after such a long, it feels like it's 7 games, even though they've only played 4 up to this point. You're wondering, is this a game where, despite the fact you got 2 proverbial aces going, does it turn into a slugfest and it's just a war of attrition to see who survives this thing? I'm looking forward to it. It should be a fun one. And I don't think we're going to get, the results like we saw on Wednesday where it's 8-0. I think this will be a closer, kind of like the one we saw on Tuesday night, that thriller where it ends up 6-5. But it does feel like momentum. The Padres had a lot of the momentum before they almost blew the lead in that 6-5 win I just mentioned. And the Dodgers on the other end responded in kind with their momentum Wednesday. It feels like whoever comes out of the gate in this series has had the upper hand. And so that could be something to watch coming into this evening.
Absolutely. Wade, last off season, we took our shots at the Milwaukee Brewers after they traded Corbin Burns to Baltimore. And on these very airwaves, we said, we have no idea what the Brewers are doing. Well, what they were doing was setting themselves up to win another NL Central championship, won it by 10 games, and might be getting ready to make another similar move this offseason, because closer and NL All-Star Devin Williams is going into his final year of arbitration and will hit free agency at the end of the 25 season. Has a career ERA of 1.83 and maybe on the move, as was Burns this past offseason, as was Josh Hader the year before that. The Brewers kind of working under their financial limitations as the smallest market in the league, being open to moving guys rather than spending money on them. So I guess we won't ask what they're doing should it come to pass, but this is something to kind of be on the lookout for, apparently.
Yeah, the interesting thing on that too is, to me, it comes down to, is this the cool, calm, calculated, even though we don't understand, the Brewers certainly seem like they know what's going on. Is this a cool, calm, calculated move by them? Or is this reacting to, he gives up 3 runs all year, but then he gives up 4 in the 9th inning in that game, including the 3-run bomb to Alonso? Or is it, the reactionary side of things? So track record would give you the benefit of the doubt that if this does happen, the Brewers know what they're doing. But man, sometimes when things end ugly, they do turn into the reactionary mode, and you wonder if that plays because it fell apart in swift fashion for those guys.
It's a good point. The Minnesota Twins are on the sales block, apparently. The Pohlad family has owned the team since 1984, I think, but they announced yesterday that the team is up for sale. Valued at just under $1.5 billion. The Twins won World Series in 87 and 91 and have made 10 other playoff appearances since then. and were on a little bit of a roll earlier this season, did not make the postseason, finished fourth in the AL Central, but you got to remember, 3 AL Central teams made the playoffs. And they were in it right down to the final week, I believe.
Yeah, they kind of they crumpled a little bit. At the same time, the Tigers had that epic run. I don't know if the Tigers had not made the epic run, Minnesota might have still squeaked in there. But either way, it played out the way that it played out. And so it would be the end of an era. And talk about, smaller market teams. That's a franchise that has done a lot in recent years, especially with a pretty tiny payroll, it feels like. And so be something to keep our eyes on. When did you say since the 80s?
84.
Man, so, I mean, talk about 40 years. I mean, franchises are selling at an insane clip these days. So maybe a chance to cash in and see what this next group could do.
Absolutely. Our number 1 of the weekend update edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, is in the books when we return to the Lee Company studios. Wade and I will get into the grab bag, kind of hitting some odds and ends across the sports landscape to consider from the last 24 hours or so. And again, later in this second hour, we have Ben McKee of Go Vols 24/7 joining us to talk a little UT Florida tomorrow night. So stick around when we come back. Oh, Wade and I are going to be picking some games in the final segment as well. You don't want to miss that. So again, stick around for our number 2 of Main Street Sports Today after this.
Hi, I'm Dr. Vilay Saisuka, CEO and founder of Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee here in Murfreesboro. We offer foot and ankle care from ingrown toenails to diabetic foot wounds. We also fix ankle fractures and things like that.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
So, you want to be a part of the Busy Bee team, huh? Well, how do you see yourself fitting into the organization? Oh, I get it. You want to be a weather bee.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Hour number 2 of the weekend update edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, starts right now. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Thursday night football. 49ers 36, Seahawks 24. Big NFC West win for the Niners, but kind of came at a cost. Already thin at running back with Christian McCaffrey's up in the air health situation. Former Gallatin Green Wave standout Jordan Mason apparently sustained a shoulder injury in the win last night. Wait, are you there?
Yeah, and I was waiting. Didn't know if there was a payoff there because yeah, you're right. Mason was absolutely on fire. Just kind of unfortunate, right? Because they were rolling with him, toting the ball at will. I mean, he's averaging over 8 yards a carry at one point, something like 73 yards on 9 carries. I think I remember seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And it is unfortunate, but in classic 49ers fashion, that's a wounded and banged up Seahawks team. We talked in the first hour with TERESA about Sweat and how well he's playing in the defensive line. Without Byron Murphy, too, the Seahawks kind of, I'm not going to say we're falling apart defensively. They've had some other injuries, and that's neither one of those teams really is a team that's built to come from behind. And the 49ers kind of just punched them in the mouth early. And really, I mean, the Seahawks did make it respectable. Geno had a couple unfortunate picks there, but by and large, the 49ers kind of just kept rolling along.
Yeah. And it's interesting how they are continuing to roll on, like you said, without McCaffrey and with some of the injuries that they're dealing with. But they've been able to piece some things together. Mason has rushed for 536 yards and 3 touchdowns, second behind Derrick Henry. His 105 carries to this point are a league high. So they might be looking to kind of back off of him a little bit anyway, but he has stepped in for McCaffrey in fine fashion, and hopefully that shoulder situation isn't any more serious again for the former Gallatin standout than, or hopefully it is as non-serious, maybe for lack of a better phrase, as possible, and he's able to play through it or get back out there. The Davante Adams saga continues. The Vegas receiver wanting out of Vegas, and understandably so with that quarterback situation. They're going back and forth between Minshew, and now O'Connell is set to start this weekend against Pittsburgh. But speaking of Pittsburgh, the Steelers are one of 4 teams that are thought to be among the favorites in a midseason trade to get Adams, along with obviously the Jets and the Saints, because he has former quarterbacks at both of those, and Buffalo, which is looking to upgrade its receiver core. So, you don't typically see a whole lot of midseason trades. I mean, McCaffrey was involved in one of the more prolific ones, I guess, of recent memory. But this Davante Adams situation is getting to be pretty intriguing.
Yeah, and I'm really kind of curious because when this news kind of started leaking out, I still am kind of thinking that he ends up staying in Vegas, but now the odds have shifted because you can do this on everything. Vegas will tell you the Jets are a favorite for whatever that's worth to now acquire the services of Devontae Adams. The Raiders are your second favorite. And so just because you want out, especially when you got to remember, there's always the Oakland factor. And I say Oakland, I mean, just that's kind of the old franchise model. I mean, anything and everything is on the table with this franchise, whether they're in Vegas or out in California. They can do anything, and that could mean your star receiver wants out. You have a chance to really get some pieces, and you may not stand to gain anything if you don't trade them. Well, that's something that the Raiders would do. On the other hand, smart business, a guy's disgruntled, wants to get out, maybe, try and swing the best deal. It also, I give them a little bit of the cap because they didn't immediately kind of make a move. It does feel like there is a little bit of sanity in this move from Vegas, and they're not just instantly taking the first offer. They're kind of at least, behind the scenes, it seems like maybe entertaining some stuff and trying to work out the best deal. But yeah, the Jets are favored. It'll be really interesting to see how this plays out because you mentioned the the Steelers be a great fit potentially for a team that's kind of, continuing to recalibrate their expectations week by week. Buffalo will certainly be intriguing. But the third team on this Vegas odds list is none other than the Baltimore Ravens. And you want to talk about a team that is already, they're a toenail away from Lively, from really, really being one of the juggernauts in the NFL. And for that 0-2 start to the Raiders, the second loss, seems a distant memory. If you throw him in the mix, man, that would be an insane offense to think about.
Absolutely. With the league's leading rusher in Derrick Henry, by the way. So,
man, weapons. And Monken does a great job of calling plays for them. That will be something we talk. It kind of reminds me of Worthy going to the Chiefs. Everybody rolls their eyes and said, of course, if the Ravens somehow were to swing a trade without giving up a whole lot and get Adams, man, that would be wild to see.
No doubt. We mentioned that Aiden O'Connell is expected to get the start for the Raiders against Pittsburgh this weekend. In New Orleans, where Derek Carr is down with an oblique situation, former Fresno State quarterback Jake Hayner stepped in late in their ball game earlier this week. But South Carolina rookie Spencer Rattler is expected to get the start for the Saints this weekend against Tampa Bay, and that should be interesting. He had a pretty solid preseason by all accounts, and so they're going to give him the keys to the offense Sunday, apparently.
I know it didn't work out for him by and large with his collegiate career, but this is a guy that I kind of thought would end up with – he's one of those that, man, his stock went way down, but I feel like he's still got some sneaky good potential. This will be a fun audition. And I think maybe that audition would have potentially, happened this year, if not for the fact that Carr had been playing so well out of nowhere. Carr is having a great start to his season after a horrific last year under center. This will be fascinating to watch because, yeah, man, I like what I've seen from Rattler. You mentioned his preseason was great. I wasn't sold entirely on that New Orleans pairing. I feel like he could really thrive in a different franchise. But then all of a sudden the Saints have been resurgent this year. This will be an interesting one to watch. So you got Rattler going. You mentioned O'Connell going. And they're saying in New England the Mayflower has arrived because Drake May will get to see man, talk about an ugly game. It'll be them and the Texans. And you got May rolling in under center.
Man, and we talked a little bit about this earlier in the week. I'm just not sure that the Houston Texans are who you want to break a rookie quarterback in against making his first start, especially on the road.
But, good luck, buddy. That does not. If you're the Patriots, you don't got a lot to cheer for. They kind of got that win early versus the Bengals, and you're thinking, maybe they're better than we thought. But at this point, all you really kind of have to sell is hope and optimism, and May represents that. But man, you are exactly right. Going up against the Texans, Godspeed, young man.
Absolutely. Middle led 14-7 down at Louisiana Tech midway through the first quarter last night. The host Bulldogs answered with 34 straight points and rolled to a 48-21 victory. Not a happy Blue Raider today. Louisiana Tech's first touchdown of the third quarter was about a 75-yarder. There were two defenders in position to either A, make a play on the ball, or B, make the tackle after the catch. They did neither. Guy went about 75 yards, made it a 41-14 game at that point, and I turned it off not long after. But it's a little perplexing to me because, we talked to Chip Walters earlier in the week and felt like after the first 5 games or so, basically Middle Tennessee State was going to be playing somebody that was a little bit closer to their competitive level. Well, maybe not, because again, 48-21. And, I'm a little concerned because Derek Mason is supposed to be a defensive coach, and they just gave up 48 points. And I think Louisiana Tech scored on their first 5 possessions. Not a great situation right now.
No, it's been a tough sled for Middle, and that was one that you're thinking, all right, you finally get through that slog that we've talked about so much, and you get into conference play in earnest, other than the one-off versus Western. And the defense, Chip has mentioned it a couple times, the defense, the whole team is banged up to an extent, but the defense in particular. But, man, they have given up 20-plus points in every game. They gave up 25 to Tennessee Tech. And, I mean, from there, 52, 49, 45, 24, respectable effort versus Memphis by and large. And then you give up 48 again last night. The defense has been really, really subpar, injuries or not. And that's what's got to sting Coach Mason at the moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So they have a Tuesday home game against Kennesaw, I believe it is. So they've got that quick turnaround with these midweek games. Yeah, they've got Kennesaw State coming to town on Tuesday night, and they were getting boat raced by Jacksonville State last Friday night. So maybe there's some hope and optimism, as Wade was mentioning a little bit ago, for the Blue Raiders coming up with that matchup.
Hopefully you get that win. Kennesaw's already they're winless on the season in this rookie year, so to speak. But I mean they lost a home game to. I mean UT Martin is pretty solid, but I mean it's still UT Martin. Right. So man, we mentioned it with Chip. The cool thing about these midweek games is all eyes are on you. The bad thing about these midweek games is all eyes are on you. You gotta beat Kennesaw State. You prefer to beat them convincingly. With the nationwide audience coming up next week.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned Jackson State. They absolutely opened up another can last night in their contest or earlier this week. I mean, the CUSA has been, 54-13 versus New Mexico State. They've been rolling. This is kind of a weird league, right? Because Liberty had to go to overtime to beat Florida International the night before that. It feels like MTSU is unfortunately in the, if you want to boil it down, haves and have-nots in this league. They're currently in the have-nots at the moment, but also this league is kind of anybody's race, it feels like, in terms of who can win on any given night. So maybe get a win versus Kennesaw and then see if you can start spending that. You do go to Jack State the following week.
You feel like you said, that you can go from being a have-not to a have relatively quickly in this conference. So, but yeah, like you said, Tuesday against visiting Kennesaw State is a real key in making that move, you would think. Heck of an audience for game 1 of the WNBA finals last night, as Minnesota got down 39-21 middle of the second quarter and kind of left for dead, or at least I had. And the next thing you know, they've battled back, they forced overtime, and they have defeated the host Liberty 95-93 in overtime. Kind of a game for the ages there. Again, Courtney Williams continues to to have a fantastic postseason for the Lynx, and Nafisa Collier just continues to be Nafisa Collier pretty much. But that's a huge win, not just the way they did it, but the fact that they stole one on the road.
Yeah, that was one that the Liberty, man, it does not. That's not a good loss by any stretch, because that's one that championship teams do not let get away. First and foremost, the Liberty don't let get away usually, and then you have so many chances. Even still, you missed the free throw right at the end, a chance to avoid the overtime. I mean, there were so many mental miscues, kind of like the previous series that the Aces had committed against the Liberty. Man, maybe this is just the Lynx. Maybe it's a resurgence for the once former dominant WNBA franchise. That was a massive steal in game one.
No doubt. Courtney Williams finished with 23, Kayla McBride with 22, Collier 21 points, 8 boards. For the Liberty, if I can get to it. There we go. Brianna Stewart finished with 18 points. They had 4 starters in double digits. Jonquel Jones scored 24 points, 9 boards. Sabrina Ionescu with 19 points. Leonie Fibich scored 17. And again, Stewie, 18 points, 9 boards. She missed a layup, pretty contested layup. I was a little shocked that there wasn't a foul call, but maybe it was clean. But she missed a layup right there at the buzzer that would have forced a second overtime. And, that's pretty much whose hands you want the ball in that situation if you are the Liberty. But, again, tough loss for the Liberty there, 95-93 in overtime. Game 2 is Sunday. Is that what we said in the rundown?
Yep, Sunday at 2, be on ABC. And, the Liberty have to rebound in short order. And you mentioned, Stewart first at the end of regulation with the free throw, and then also the chance in overtime. Man, the Lynx have just continued to play well this season. And because of the household names of the Liberty and the Aces, maybe that's the real team that we should have been talking a little bit more about all season long.
Well, I mean, they beat the Liberty 3 or 4 times in the regular season. So, I mean, it's not like this is necessarily a fluke, but, the Liberty has to have game 2 going back to Minnesota for games 3 and 4, you would feel like. So that'll certainly bear watching. We've got some other WNBA news, but in light of our next guest, we're going to hang on to that because it's pretty evergreen. So when we return to the Lee Company studios here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, we will be joined by Ben McKee of Go Vols 24/7, talking little Florida and UT. Always a fun matchup, always an interesting matchup, and typically a matchup that does not go the way of this week's hosts. So stick around when we come back after this break.
Hi, I'm Riley, a certified physician associate here at Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee. We have a couple locations, Murfreesboro, McMinnville, as well as Franklin. We treat people of all ages. We're excited to get you back on your feet and hope we can help you today.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
He shoots, and he scores!
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
The weekend update continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton along with Wade Neely, and we are pleased to have with us from Go Vols 24/7 a very happy Ben McKee, because Ben's Yankees have advanced to the ALCS with that 3-1 victory over Kansas City last night that we referenced earlier in the show. Ben, a big Yankees fan, so congrats to you, big boy.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and apologies that I look like I'm in jail. I promise I'm not. I'm over here watching Tennessee baseball scrimmage, actually, as campus begins to buzz for tomorrow night's football game. So I ducked under here into the construction. So don't tell anybody. Don't tell me, okay?
Hey, I'm surprised you managed to get down there, especially without a hard hat. A lot going on at Lindsey Nelson, right?
Yes, a lot going on. They've cleared out for the day, so nothing going on right now. But there's a crane up in the sky that wasn't here yesterday. It's a massive crane, which was a sight to behold when I pulled up today. And a lot of work on the street in between Lindsey Nelson and the football facility, and down here in the left field corner, which is where I am right now, and working on the player entrance over in that right field corner as well. So you got to keep your head on a swivel. I've been out here for about a week and a half watching them scrimmage. There's no netting anywhere. I am down the left field line, so I'm good to go as long as I'm paying attention. But no sitting behind home plate because there's no netting right now with all the construction. The press box is completely torn down. It's a sight to see. It looks like a war zone.
Well, I don't want to get as much as I would love to talk baseball. I don't want to get sidetracked by baseball today anyway. But what are your feelings regarding this Florida game tomorrow night in light of Tennessee's performance on Saturday? I mean, have we still determined, was Saturday about Tennessee underperforming, Arkansas overperforming, or something else?
I think a little bit of both. I think Tennessee certainly underperformed. Tennessee, to me, even after losing, I know it's weird to say, and I don't like saying it after the fact, but I still think Tennessee's the better football team than Arkansas, despite the loss. They just certainly did not play their best football. I thought they played fine defensively. Not perfect from start to finish, but played more than well enough to win the game. And if you hold somebody to 19 points, and really you held them to, 12 points for 59 and a half minutes in that football game, that should be good enough to win. So I don't really know how to feel about this Florida game because the offensive performance last week at Arkansas was very concerning. I think there's a lot of question marks, red flags on that side of the football. To me, the root of the issue is the offensive line and tackle play in particular. But the offensive line as a whole was not good enough throughout the course of that football game. And Nico was under pressure, but Nico also missed some open guys and maybe held on to the football a little too long here and there. But the receivers, I didn't feel like they were getting open consistently. Sure, Nico may have missed a couple here and there, but I also didn't feel like they did a good job of getting open consistently. And Dylan Sampson had a really nice night, but I didn't think that the running game overall was super great from start to finish. It really took him a while to get going. And I felt like that was more because of the offensive line not really doing much for him. But it took the running game to get going in the third quarter. So I don't really know how to feel because I don't know that the offense is as bad as it looked at Arkansas, but there were a lot of red flags in that performance as well. So I think Saturday night's performance against Florida will be very telling, but Florida's defense has not been very good outside of the UCF game. So I think it would be very disappointing if the Tennessee offense laid another egg.
Is there a concern regarding Nico's decision-making at this point?
No, I would say no. I chalk it up to more inexperience than anything. I thought it was more of a reminder, a wake-up call, whatever you want to call it, something along those lines of just a reminder that he was making his, sixth career start, I believe that was, and his inexperience showed is kind of the way that I viewed it. And, he still didn't turn the football over. So maybe that's why I'm not as worried about it in terms of the decision-making in regards to throwing it to this guy or that guy. It certainly was not what it needed to be because there were some open receivers that he missed. But I would still say that I'm not concerned right now just because he's still not really turning the football over. That has not been an issue for him, which is typically an issue with young quarterbacks. So I think it was just inexperience popping up, and you hope that he learns from it.
You mentioned Florida's defense being a little porous, and you also mentioned the running game. Is it as easy as, hey, if we get the running game kind of back where it needs to be versus maybe a less than defense? Is that kind of as simple as that to kind of maybe right the ship for Tennessee's offensive woes?
I would say yes, but the way that I've been wording it or thinking about it in my mind this week is that if you get the offensive line going, and that opens up the running game, and then that should open up things in the passing game. That's the way I've been looking at it this week is if the offensive line can get going, take a step forward, and really I'm talking about the tackles. I think the interior, while not playing perfect, I think it's been fine, good enough. Could certainly improve there, especially at left guard with Andre Karich. But those two tackle spots with Lance Hurd and John Campbell Jr., Tennessee needs more from those guys. And I think if they get more from those guys, then that opens up more consistency for the running game to what you were saying. And then also gives Nico more time to push the football down the field and get the passing game going and find more consistency in the passing game. So I do agree with what you're asking there, but just in my head, I've been looking at it as if the offensive line gets going, this offense and this team gets back going.
Ben, also, obviously, you can't talk Tennessee, Florida. I mean, there is some weird cosmic juju. Tennessee hadn't won back-to-back home games since 90 and 92 in this series. This was supposed to be the one year you didn't have to worry about that. Is there cause for concern considering that Florida out of nowhere has suddenly somehow won 2 games in a row? I know it was Mississippi State and UCF, but they've won 2 in a row, and now Tennessee comes in off a loss. What's the state of Vols Nation, I guess, is my point. Ultimate question here, knowing there's been some weird vibes in this game over the years.
Yeah, I think they're nervous. I thought they were very confident going into that Arkansas game, and rightfully so, but I think that the Arkansas performance was a little bit of a reality check, I guess, or a realization that the offense is not maybe what we thought the offense was. Now, that's not to suggest that the offense can't become or end up being what we all thought it was, and that being one of the best offenses in college football, but that they're not that yet. They could get there, but they've got some work to do, and I thought it was a realization in that sense of the offense, and Nico isn't ready to roll the way that they thought that they were ready to roll, or the way that they had looked against NC State, looked at home against lesser competition. The offense was not what a lot of people thought that it was. So I think that is a lot of reason for concern right now. Then you add in the fact that Tennessee just does not beat Florida. I mean, you mentioned that stat there. I wasn't even born. I wasn't alive. So I guess I've never seen Tennessee beat Florida in back-to-back home games, and I did not really realize that. It certainly makes sense when I think about it, but that really puts it into perspective that, I mean, I'll be 30 years old next year, and in my lifetime, Tennessee's never beaten Florida in back-to-back home games. And that's very telling, in my opinion, of the series. And if that's not very telling, then all you need to know is Florida's won 17 of the last 19. And Florida, no matter how bad they are, they always feel like they can beat Tennessee. They feel like they own Tennessee, and they should, right? So there's a lot of concern this week. There was a lot of confidence, but that performance at Arkansas, coupled with the fact that fans are well aware of how this series has gone, that they're nervous around here.
17 of the last 19, including last year at the Swamp, when an unranked Florida defeated number 11 Tennessee 29-16. Ben McKee of GoVols 24/7 joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Yeah, as Wade mentioned, and as those numbers point out, there is the juju is not great
Something's
for
weird.
Tennessee around this Florida game. And I don't know, Ben, but not just the Arkansas game last week, but I mean, does this kind of make us have to reconsider the win out at Oklahoma as to whether there was a getting up off the gas and scaling things back, or if that was all Tennessee was capable of in Norman?
Yeah, I certainly think it's fair to question and look back on in hindsight. Now, my conclusion is that it's still the same, for me at least, that was truly Josh Heupel taking his foot off the pedal. Now, in that football game, part of the reason you took your foot off the pedal is because of the play of the offensive tackles, and that reared its ugly head again at Arkansas. The difference being with Arkansas, every position unit on the field struggled, whereas at Oklahoma, against a good defense, it felt as if it was more of the tackles in that situation. Lance Hurd not being there at all, not playing. John Campbell Jr. not being able to finish the game because he's dealing with chronic fluid that is built up in his knee that's given him issues. It felt like that was the reason, and the smart decision by Josh Heupel to take his foot off the gas. So I certainly think it's fair to question, but I still have the same conclusion, and am giving them the benefit of the doubt. And in that football game as well, something non-personnel related and execution-wise once the ball is snapped, but pre-snap penalties really got Tennessee in trouble last week at Arkansas. And so it's hard to establish tempo, establish rhythm on the offensive side of the football when you're playing behind the sticks and shooting yourself in the foot as often as Tennessee was doing. That wasn't an issue at Oklahoma. They took their foot off the gas because they recognized that the only way that Oklahoma was going to beat them was if the tackle situation gave up a splash play for that defense that got them going. Whereas at Arkansas, it was just a complete mess. All system fail. Every position unit on the field was playing poorly, and you couple that with the penalties. I mean, you're not making plays, and you're not able to establish any tempo or rhythm because the penalties are putting you behind the sticks and making you huddle up in between each play. So fair to question for sure, but I still have the same conclusion for now. Maybe I feel differently depending on how the next couple of games go, but I do think it was more circumstantial than anything.
Those pre-snap penalties had not really been an issue for UT prior to last week either, had they?
No. I do think maybe there were a couple of games where the overall penalties numbers look like it, but it seemed like it was more 15-yard penalties in those first couple of games, and not really a false start or illegal man downfield. Not a ton of those type of penalties that stall out drives. I mean, the first play of the game in Arkansas, you complete a pass 15, 20 yards down the field. Great way to start the football game, and it has to come back because you had an offensive lineman too far down the football field, and he should just simply know better. So that it's been an issue with Josh Heupel's program overall. Going back to UCF, when Tennessee has had an ugly performance during Heupel's tenure here at Tennessee, you can usually point to, okay, well, penalties, there it was again. So that has been a bugaboo for Heupel as a head coach. But really this season specifically, that was the first game in which some of those illegal man downfields, false starts, illegal formation, those pre-snap penalties really bit the offense.
Ben, I want to ask you, is the quarterback rotation for Florida, is that still in play this week? And then what is we kind of have talked about the game plan or path to victory for Tennessee. What does the path to victory for Florida look like in this game in your mind?
Florida will play that two quarterback system once again with Graham Mertz and DJ Lagway. I believe it's Lagway gets every third possession. So Graham Mertz will play the first, second, fourth, and fifth possession of each half. And Lagway gets the third and the sixth. But you can kind of pencil in those numbers because you typically don't get more than 6 offensive possessions in each half. But in the odd case that you did, then simply put, Lagway will be out there every third offensive series. And I do think that benefits Tennessee, a freshman quarterback who is as talented as anybody in the country. He is their version of Nico. Different quarterbacks in terms of what makes them so talented and so highly thought of as young quarterbacks, but just in terms of hype and what they were coming out of high school and overall talent, he is their version of Nico. So I think it would benefit. I mean, we've seen Nico handled Oklahoma well. I don't know that he handled Arkansas well based off of just flat out production in that football game. So Lagway is going to have his freshman moment at some point as well. And against this defensive line that is still terrorizing everybody in Neyland Stadium, checkered Neyland, sold out. It's going to be a pretty raucous environment. It's a night game, so everybody's going to be nice and liquored up and drinking from the moment they wake up tomorrow morning. I could see this being a freshman moment for Lagway there. So I think it benefits Tennessee that they're doing a 2-quarterback system. I'm also not a huge fan of the 2-quarterback system, generally speaking. I understand why Napier's doing it. It's essentially a pitch to save his job, not completely sacrificing this season because Graham Mertz does give you the best chance to win now, but also being like, hey, let's get Lagway some experience this year and look what we got for next year. He'll be ready to go. So I do get it, even if I don't like it. But that's the path to victory for Tennessee is to affect those guys. The path to victory for Florida is stopping Tennessee's running game that has been really good, generally speaking, this season with Dylan Sampson. Florida was atrocious defending the run before their win over UCF, and it was very odd. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, obviously, because I'm still in jail here at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. But something along the lines of UCF had like the 4th overall offense in the country, really good rushing numbers. Florida was like 113th against the run entering that game. And Florida shut down UCF's running game kind of out of nowhere. So if they can replicate that and really affect Tennessee's offensive line, take advantage of the tackle situation, affect Nico, slow down the running game, then things could get really muddy and ugly for Tennessee's offense if they're not able to get going up front. That to me is, I know you asked me about Florida's path to victory, but I think it kind of goes hand in hand. Tennessee, if Tennessee's offensive line shows up and the tackles take a step forward and play better than we've seen the last 2 games, then I think Tennessee probably wins by multiple scores, quite frankly. If not, then it's going to be a repeat of last week in Arkansas, 4th quarter game. Who executes in the 4th quarter under 5 minutes is going to walk out of Neyland with the victory.
Ben McKee of Go Vols 24/7 joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. And man, I see your Omaha cap on. You're at LNS. I really want to get into some baseball, and we might have to get you back on and just kind of talk about where the defending national champions are in fall ball. But for right now, we will just keep the focus on Florida. 6 o'clock Central Time tomorrow, 7 o'clock over in Knoxville if you're going over there. The game will be shown on ABC or ESPN. Which is it? ESPN? ESPN. Okay. I'm a little surprised that ABC didn't pick it up. But at any rate, there we are. Ben, we appreciate you, man. And look out for flying stuff, baseballs and otherwise.
I will. I'll be in your neck of the woods this next bye week. Tennessee baseball will be at the Sound Stadium that Friday, 25th, I think.
25th,
it is, to play
yeah.
Western Kentucky. So I'll be free that week if you want to talk any Tennessee baseball.
Sounds good, man. We appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too. When we come back to the Lee Company studios after this break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, Wade and I will take on the Wonder Slate. 10 college football games. We'll be picking winners against the spread. So stick around after this.
So, you want to be a part of the Busy Bee team, huh? Well, how do you see yourself fitting into the organization? Oh, I get it. You want to be a weather bee.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
It's the final segment of the Weekend Update edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We're coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes, and it is time for the Wonder Slate as Wade and I take on 10 college football games from this weekend. When last we did this, it resulted in right around 500 for each of us. And a push. We got the rare push this past a couple of weekends ago, since we did not air last Friday. But who was it?
Notre Dame and Louisville got us.
Notre Dame and Louisville. Notre Dame was a 7-point favorite, and the final was 31-24 Irish. So yeah. No win, no loss. And in my case, that was good, because otherwise, I was 4-5 that week. Wade went 5-4. You can see our overall records to this point. Wade is 3 games to the good. I'm 3 games under. So let's see what we can do with this weekend's games, starting with one tonight.
Yeah, we got a couple of matchups from teams in the Big 12 from Utah taking on other teams from the state of Arizona. And one of those will be tonight, Mo. You're right. Number 16, Utah travels to Arizona State. It's a 9:30 kickoff. You can see it on ESPN. And Utah, the Utes, are favored by 5.5. Pick us off.
I am going to go with Utah, even though Cam Rising continues to be a question mark for the Utes from an availability standpoint from week to week. But I just think Utah, even even in Tempe, should be able to cover basically a touchdown spread here.
I'm with you. I'm taking Utah as well. Arizona State, though, they are sneaky. They were picked dead last in the preseason poll in the Big 12. Their only loss this season came to Texas Tech, who shockingly is at the top of the Big 12 standing. So Utah will be in for a slugfest tonight. The only thing you can really convincingly bet on with Utah is that Rising is probably not going to play. Because we're doing this song and dance over and over again. But Utah, I can't quit them, Mo. I always pick the Utes. Maybe they'll burn me tonight, but I like them by 5.5 with you as well.
Yeah, it's just tough to pick against a Kyle Whittingham team, man. I mean, he quietly does one of the better jobs in the country, you feel like. And so, yeah, I'm going with the Utes.
I'm with you there. Yeah, I can't quit this guy. Speaking of coaching jobs, there's going to be a lot of attention on our next game. This brings us into Saturday. Alabama is number 7 in the country. They are favored by 21.5 versus visiting South Carolina. 11 a.m. kickoff on ABC. Does Kalen DeBoer quiet a little bit of the Bama contingent this week and cover the 21.5?
I think he covers the 21.5. I don't know if that will quiet the Alabama contingent.
Spoiler, it will not, I don't think.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like Alabama covers and then some. But as for the rest, I think that's going to be a work in progress for a pretty good while. So
I'm with you. I'm taking Alabama as well. I would not be shocked if South Carolina covers this. They've been sneaky this year. But I think if Alabama has a chance to cover this big number, they will. I don't think we're looking at a South Carolina backdoor cover type situation. I think if Alabama is in control of the game, they will try and put the throttle down and cover the 21.5. So I'm taking the Tide as well. And as we said, yes, it will not really quiet the Tide. Legend will still be out there calling in to find bomb no matter what. Next game up. Again, they're billing this the biggest week of the season, and really things kind of start kicking off around the 2:30 window with this one. High-profile SEC showdown, number 1 Texas versus number 19 Oklahoma. It's a 2:30 kick on ABC. Texas is favored by 14.5 in this showdown this weekend, Mo.
Quinn Ewers is supposed to play in this one. I don't know that it matters which quarterback plays for Texas, to be honest. I like Texas in this matchup. Oklahoma, I presume, is still going with the young kid at quarterback, and this is a big stage, and I'm not sure Michael Hawkins Jr. is necessarily ready for it, particularly against this team. I like the Longhorns to cover here.
I'm going to do the old switcheroo. I'm taking Oklahoma kind of for a game that we're going to swap out. I forgot the Tennessee game, so it'll be in the mix here at the end. Oklahoma's got the same juju. I don't know what Oklahoma and Florida got, but they got the same juju versus their respective teams. Eerily similar numbers. And I'm not saying Oklahoma wins this game. I think Texas wins the game, but I think it's maybe like a 10-point game that Texas, doesn't really feel very comfortable. Right. And I could be totally wrong, but I think the Sooners play well and cover this 14.5. I'm taking Venables and his bunch this weekend.
Okay.
That will bring us into another 2:30 game. Had a little more luster a couple of weeks ago, but Penn State will travel to USC for the 2:30 CBS kickoff, Big Ten showdown, and the Nittany Lions, Mo, are favored by 3.5.
The Nittany Lions are favored by 3.5. I like USC to win this game outright. I just think that Riley has been under a lot of fire. I think that's a long trip. And I think Penn State may be ready to play less than their best game. I like the Trojans here.
Man, I love everything that you just said and all the numbers. I had the stat pulled up earlier this week, and I apologize, I can't do it. But teams that have traveled across multiple time zones are like 1-18. We saw Miami barely hang on last week. versus Cal. We've seen some other teams go all the way across and get flattened. Michigan takes an L to Washington. Everything that you said stacks up. I do think Penn State is better than USC. And I think with such a low number that Penn State covers this, I will not be shocked if USC, everything, like I said, you just mentioned, I agree with, but I still got to go with Penn State. And if not, that sweet, sweet James Franklin content will roll in if USC does pull off the win. So give me the Nittany Lions in this one, and I'll deal with the aftermath if they lay an egg. I told you there's a Big 12 matchup between a team from Utah and a team from Arizona. This is the second one. BYU, the Cougs, been rolling. They're up to number 14 in the country. They're favored by 3 in the 3 p.m. kickoff on Fox. The game is played in Provo. Does BYU cover 3 versus Arizona?
They do. I like the Cougs here. I just like the Cougs, period, at this point, and certainly in this matchup against Arizona. Yeah, give me BYU.
I'm taking BYU as well for everything you mentioned, but also the folks out in Utah were just flat out nice to me this week. So I'm taking the Utes and I'm taking the Cougs. I think the Beehive State will be buzzing and Provo will be rocking. Give me BYU in that one. Big SEC matchup now. Ole Miss got to go on the road. They are a 3.5-point favorite in the 6:30 ABC game, traveling to Death Valley. Does Ole Miss right the ship, Mo?
I think they do. I think that, maybe that loss to Kentucky will have gotten their attention a little bit, and I like them even in Death Valley. I like them to cover 3.5.
Man, I'm picking Ole Miss as well, but man, I could show up on this program Monday and say, how in the world did I pick against LSU at night?
Yeah.
Yeah,
they don't lose many under those circumstances. That's for sure. Because, as Ben pointed out about this UT game, 6:30 kick is plenty of time for the LSU fans to get in good shape.
We saw it last year with Tennessee. They don't play well in Baton Rouge early, but they do play well late. But I'm still picking Ole Miss. Sorry to my Bayou Bengals fans out there. Maybe the biggest game. Yeah, the biggest game of the evening. You got to wait till 6:30. But number 2, Ohio State goes to number 3, Oregon. You can see it on NBC and Peacock. Does Ohio State cover 3 points on the road out at Autzen Stadium?
I don't think they do. You mentioned teams traveling across multiple time zones. Ohio State will be doing that, and they will be facing a pretty good Ducks team once they get there. I like Oregon in this one.
I'm taking Ohio State, but man, Oregon, talk about a place that will be rocking. And if Oregon does win this game, I think they win big. I think Ohio State wins and covers, but I think if Oregon wins, it will be something like a 14-point win, and everybody is right out in Eugene. That's going to be a fun one on Saturday night. Speaking of Saturday night, does Vanderbilt go on the road and cover 13 at Kentucky? Game begins at 6:45 on the SEC Network.
I think Vanderbilt does cover. I don't know that they necessarily win, but I do think they cover that number.
I'm taking Vanderbilt as well. If nothing else, I just want to ride the good vibes and the good fortune from the folks on West End there. Give me Vanderbilt on the road. We're winding down here. 2 games to go. Does Florida cover 14.5 as an underdog in Knoxville Saturday night?
This game scares me for all the reasons we discussed with Ben just now. I like Florida to cover. I don't like Florida to win outright, but I don't think Tennessee covers 14.5 in this one.
I'm taking the Vols, and this will be a game that I'll look back, and if they win, we're saying, Tennessee is back. It was a blip in the radar versus Arkansas. I think it might have been a blip in the radar. I'm taking Tennessee to cover. Ooh, that 14.5, though. As my good buddy Scott Combs says, the half point will make you laugh. And sometimes not in a good way. So we'll see how that shakes out. Final game of the Wonder Slate. Number 18, Kansas State, favored by 3.5 at Colorado. If you stay up till 9:15 Saturday night, you can see it on ESPN.
I'm going to take K-State to cover that number.
I haven't picked Kansas State right all season, but I'm going to pick them here. So that means Colorado is due to win this game.
There you go. That is the Wonder Slate. That is the weekend update. This is Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. We will see y'all at 2 o'clock Monday.